to my colleague from California, and I am somewhat amazed to think that she would imply that we don't care about the unemployed. The fact is we do. I went through the list of the things she mentioned, and the senator from Vermont. I wasn't here in 2001. I wasn't here in 2003. I wasn't here when both wars were initiated. I had no part in any of that. But even had I been, the fact is we can help two groups of people with this unemployment insurance. There isn't anybody on our side of the aisle that doesn't think we ought to pass extended unemployment benefits. And to state or imply that is absolutely absurd. It's not about stalling. The majority leader of the Senate did not allow one amendment, not one amendment, to allow us an opportunity to have your vote on whether we ought to pay for it. The question isn't whether or not we help the unemployed. Every time we've offered ways to do it. Matter of fact, 5 times it's been rejected that in fact our grandchildren shouldn't have to pay for the unemployment benefits of the people that are unemployed today. 5 times it's been rejected. Multiple times we've chosen to not do the responsible thing for 2 groups of people. It's very easy to get on the Senate floor and throw darts at people who have a drastic disagreement on where we stand in this country today. But to imply they don't care is out of bounds. The people in Oklahoma who are not getting an unemployment check today, I care about just as much as the people who are getting that don't have a job that aren't getting one. But there is another group of people that I'm pressed to serve in Oklahoma as well, and that's their children. And the assumption that this body can make that we can't make the hard choices to eliminate things that are much less important, much more wasteful, absolute waste of federal dollars, and eliminate those things to pay for unemployment insurance is out of the bounds of reality. My colleague from California mentioned several times that all the people that are getting these extended benefits have paid into a fund. They've paid zero. This is extended benefits. The extended benefits are 100% paid for by federal tax dollars. It's the 26-week, the routine unemployment that is paid for through the unemployment fund. So the extended benefits, long-term benefits, don't come from any pot of money except the pot of money of our grandchildren's future. So let's put to rest, there isn't a Republican or a Democrat or an independent in this body that doesn't want these folks to get extended unemployment benefits. We do. The question comes is in a time when we're going to borrow $1.6 trillion this year alone, that's what we're going to borrow, against the future of our children, of whether or not maybe we can find $30 billion that doesn't come anywhere close to the priorities of helping people who are unemployed today. So I reject out of hand the idea that we don't have any compassion. The fact is we do. And matter of fact, our compassion is both short-term and long-term, because we're thinking about the habits of Congress that continually puts the credit card into the machine and borrows against the prosperity and well-being of the generations that follow us. So let's not have any more talk about the fact that we don't want people to have unemployment. We do. We do want them to have unemployment. Multiple times we'd offered ways for that. And it may in fact pass this afternoon or early this evening that we're going to extend them and not pay for them. But as the senator from California said, it's a defining moment. It certainly is. Is the federal government in this time of difficult economic situation, are we going to at least make some small attempt to rein in the $300 billion worth of waste, fraud, abuse, and duplication in the federal government? And the answer we get is no. Discretionary programs over the last 2 years, not counting the stimulus, we can have the stimulus debate some other time. Discretionary programs in the last 2 years have risen 19.6%. When the average wage in this country went up less than 2%. The federal government is now twice as big as it was in 1999, not counting the stimulus. We have 6,400 sets of duplicative programs that the body won't touch. None of them have metrics. They're all designed to do good things for people. They're highly inefficient, they're highly ineffective, and yet what we'll do is not that hard work to get rid of the things that aren't working. We'll just charge our children so we can say we took care of unemployment. Well, hard times require hard decisions. And what we're seeing is the easy way out. The easy way out is to not pay for this. The easy way out is to charge it to our children and our grandchildren. There's no difference in the level of compassion. Everybody wants to take care of those that are unemployed, those that are struggling. The easy way is to put it on the back of our children and grandchildren. The question really comes down is will we do what's the best right thing for the country? Will we do the best right thing for the country? Or will we do the easy thing, the politically expedient that I can do class envy, I can make somebody look bad because they didn't agree with me on the timing of something? Or will we really act as a body that will ensure both caring for the now and ensuring the future? You see, it's easy to spend money that you don't have in the Senate in the United States of America. The bias is for it. The hard thing is to take and do the best right thing. Now, my colleagues, many of which on both sides of the aisle, in numerous cases over the last 5.5 years, have too often done the easy thing. And we have all these fingers pointing that this administration did this and this administration did this. I'll tell you what, there's plenty of problems for every administration, every political party to be considered guilty on. Because too often, both groups have done the short-term, politically expedient thing rather than the best right thing for the country. You know, I had at one of the events that one of my staff attended this weekend, an individual in Oklahoma who was lost his unemployment insurance. And he said, you tell Dr. Coburn to be sure and continue to pay for it because I want my unemployment insurance. I need my unemployment. I won't be able to make my house payments unless I get that. But I don't want that to come from my children and grandchildren. I want it to come from the excesses and waste of Washington today. So there is another viewpoint, even though we hear like that is a critically non-pertinent viewpoint. This isn't a partisan issue. This isn't a delaying tactic. This is a real philosophical difference on how do we get out of the mess that we're in. A lot of my colleagues aren't happy that I'm a Republican a lot of times because I go after my party just as much as I go after anybody else's. But the fact is core principles matter. Go look at the history of republics. The senator from California talks about a defining moment. The defining moment for the Athenian republic was when they decided to start spending money they didn't have on things they didn't need. Here's our option today. And the reason we're going to have motions is because we were given no opportunity to amend. That's the only reason you have motions to suspend the rule. It has nothing to do with a delaying tactic. It has to do with a real debate and offering of amendments, a senator's right to offer amendments in this body. And the senator from California would be doing the same thing if she was turned the other way. If she was precluded from offering amendments, she would find out a way to offer an amendment. If she felt from a position, a conscientious position that can be defended on the basis of facts. You don't have to agree with it, but you can't deny that there are economic factors that should play in how we pay for unemployment insurance. You can demean us. You can say we're mean. You can say we don't care. But the fact is, none of that is true. It's an absolute untruth. So the defining moment is, will we embrace the quality that built this country in the first place? And that's being responsible for the problems that are in front of us and not shifting that responsibility to generations that follow. That's what this debate's all about. You know, when we left here for one break, we had agreed with Senator Reid and Senator Levin about extending unemployment insurance, and we were told by the Speaker of the House that she wasn't about to set the precedent of starting to pay for unemployment insurance. Well, why not? When we have a $1.6 trillion deficit, when we have $13.3 trillion worth of debt as I stand here today, when we are mortgaging the future of our children, we're stealing opportunity away from them as we said and do it, why not? Why not meet the challenges that are in front of us by responding in a way that says meeting people's needs today are important, and it's important we not take away from the needs of the future as we do that. And yet we're lectured that it's a partisan debate. There's nothing partisan about this. In my soul, I want to help everybody out there that's unemployed and facing a tough time today. But also in my soul is I don't want to mortgage the future of any more American children when we have tremendous amounts of waste, fraud, and duplication that can easily be eliminated. I'm going to have one of the motions that I'm going to offer is going to cut $40 billion from the federal government. America, tell me what part of this you don't agree with. The fact is we're going to ask that we quit wasting money on real property. We spend $8 billion a year maintaining property that we don't want. We've got $80 billion worth of empty buildings. It's costing us $8 billion a year. Should we continue to spend that $8 billion? Or should we not spend that $8 billion and take that $8 billion and pay for unemployment insurance? How about collecting unpaid taxes from federal employees and members of Congress? $3 billion. By currently hired federal employees, already adjudicated, they owe $3 billion. I think we ought to pay it back. I don't think we ought to borrow from the future of our children and grandchildren because we don't have the guts to say pay up. Quit cheating the federal government, employee of the federal government. And that's a small number in terms of the number of employees, but that's a big number, $3 billion. Let's have them pay up. Why is it that we're not going to eliminate $8 billion to bonuses of federal contractors who didn't meet the requirements to get a bonus, yet we gave the bonus anyway? Why not eliminate that rather than charge this to our children? Tell me why you won't vote for that. You think we ought to be paying bonuses to people who don't deserve them? Contractors? $6 billion over a 4-year period in just the Defense Department alone? But you don't want to get rid of that? You'd rather charge the money to our kids than make the hard choice of alienating some defense contractor or some government contractor because they got something they didn't deserve in the past when somebody's unemployed who deserves to get unemployment insurance? I don't understand it. Or eliminating non-essential government travel. One of the things President Obama wants to do. We spend billions. $14.8 billion in excess on federal travel. We're some of the worst abusers of it. And yet we won't discipline ourselves and set an example that we can use a teleconference rather than getting on an airplane and going somewhere? A video teleconference? And at a time like this, when we're having an economic problem, we won't make the hard decision to make tough choices that maybe not as fun, maybe not as easy. What I found is video teleconferences are a whole lot easier than traveling. But we won't make that hard choice. We're not going to tell the agencies they have to do it. We won't even put on a website all the times that we violate our own rules on PAYGO. You know, February 12th, we passed a law. Used to be a rule in the Senate, but now we've passed a law. It's called PAYGO. It says that you can't have new spending unless you pay for it. You can't have new spending unless you pay for it. And since February 12th, when the President signed that law, we have violated it to the tune of $223 billion that we've said, oh, time out, PAYGO statute doesn't apply. We don't have to pay for it. We don't have to eliminate all the inefficiencies, all the duplication. We don't have to go after any fraud. We're just going to charge it to our children and grandchildren. Now, where's the integrity in that? Where's the integrity? Where's the character in that? Where's the courage to do the tough thing that accomplishes both helping the people who are unemployed, but helping our kids and helping our nation? There's not any. There's none. It's the easy way out. Unless you think I'm making this stuff up, let me give you some examples of just federal duplication. And I'll just give you 4 easy examples. We have 70 different government programs, 70 different sets of bureaucracies that spend billions of dollars a year, none of them which have a metric to measure whether they're effective to help people with food that are hungry. Why 70? Why across 6 or 7 different agencies? Why not 1 or 2 programs keenly focused with metrics on it to say, are we feeding them or not? Why not eliminating 68 sets of bureaucracy and overhead? That's a small one. We have 105 different sets of programs to incentivize our young people to go into math, engineering, science, and technology. $3 billion a year. 105. 9 different federal agencies. They're not in the Department of Education. They're everywhere. Nobody knows the data, but when you bring the data, nobody will vote to make them accountable, make them transparent, eliminate the overhead, streamline the bureaucracy. No, we don't want to do that. This body has voted against doing that multiple times when those amendments have been offered. We have a total of 78 job training programs outside of the Department of Labor, costing billions of dollars a year, none of which have a metric on them, and yet we don't want to streamline that, eliminate, get it down to 2 or 3 that really are focused, some on the unemployed chronically, some on the new workers coming in, some on those that are handicapped that might need special assistance. No, we're going to keep the 70-plus programs that we have because they're somebody's baby, all of which are highly inefficient and none of which can prove effectiveness when you measure them with a metric because they don't have a metric on it. They can't demonstrate that they're effective. So the debate isn't about whether or not we want to help people who are unemployed. The debate is about whether we want to help the people who are unemployed as well as the generations that follow us. I'm amazed and continue to be so that how easily this body can abandon common sense. And I don't know if we don't have it to begin with, or that we're like a magnet and it's two positives and so we repel any common sense. But nobody would run any organization, private, public, business, or anything else the way we run the agencies in the federal government. And when you start wanting to do something about it, the only thing you get is we can't. Well, the American people are asking for us today, please do what you can. Do what you can. And what we can do is we can pay for unemployment for the next multiple periods of months by eliminating things that are absolutely unnecessary. Do you realize that we can save $4.5 billion over the next 10 years by not printing stuff that people don't want? It's all online. We can save $450 million a year just by putting common sense into the government printing office. It's been voted down 3 times on this floor this year. Why not? Why do we continue to take the easy task when the future of our country is going to be determined on whether or not we take the hard road and do the hard thing that benefits both the coming generations and those that are experiencing problems today? I'll tell you why it is. It's because we say we care, but we really don't. We play the game, but we really don't get in the game. Getting in the game means that you get criticized, that you offer up ideas, some of which may work and some may not, but you're not afraid to change the game, because our kids' future, our country's future, depends on changing the game. And what we've heard today is the resistance to changing the game. We don't have a future if we don't start making hard choices. It's an easy choice for me to vote with the senator from California to pay for unemployment benefits. I want those people to get it. It's a hard choice for me to vote against it and say, let's pay for it. If in fact you'll pay for it, I'll vote with you. It's not like we can't find $40 billion. Every third grader in this country can find $40 billion in this budget. There's no rocket science to us. There's so much waste, so much duplication, and so much fraud that anybody can find it. The question is do we have the will to do the best right thing for this country? You know, one of the things I've learned in 5.5 years in this body is that when people use straw man and people use half-truths, it's usually because they're hiding something. What's being hidden from the American public today? What's this debate really all about? Is it just about unemployment? Or is it about we like the way things are, we don't want to change the way things are, we don't want to get out of our comfort zone to solve the real problems of America, and so therefore we'll use all sorts of tactics to deflect what the real issues of the day are. Now, what are they? The senator from California rightly outlines that millions of Americans need unemployment compensation right now. All for it. What's the other truth about where we are? The truth is that this country is on an absolute unsustainable course. The American people have awakened to it. They know it. As the senator from California knows, this isn't new for me. I've been doing this for 5.5 years. And so it didn't matter if it was the Bridge to Nowhere, which a Republican authored, or unemployment compensation today, I think we use common sense and do the best right thing for America, not the politically easy thing to do. So the challenge before us today is to go home and explain, when this bill passes, why we charged it to the least of us. That's who we're charging it to. To the least of us. You know, I told a story not long ago. My profession is a physician. I've delivered nearly 4,000 babies, maybe over that. I quit counting. But the thing that always got me is when I'm delivering a baby and I've got a mother there and a father, and that baby comes out, and to see the glow on the face and in the eyes of those parents. And that glow is about hope and promise for the future, and about what things can be, and the potential that's unlimited when that new life is here. And you see it in the parents. And you see them puff up and say, wow, what a phenomenon. And as I think about what we do today, we're stealing that. We're taking it from those kids because we refuse to have the backbone and courage to do the hard yet the best right thing for this country. Oh, we'll hear a lot of speeches about how bad we are because we want to pay for it. We'll be talked down. We'll be said we want to obstruct. I honestly admit, I don't want anything to go through this body that isn't paid for. You can count on it every time. Everybody on that side of the aisle and most on my side of the aisle have run in crosswise with me on things that aren't paid for. They know it. It's not a fetish. It is, I actually recognize the long term of the future of this country depends on us getting our fiscal house in order. And so it is a defining moment, as the senator from California said. But it's not the defining moment she thinks it is. It's a defining moment whether or not this body's going to grab on and truly accept the responsibility given to us by the American people. Will we truly accept it? And how we act on it determines our commitment to this country. I don't disagree with those that just want to get it through, get people paid for. They have a right to have that position. I'm not demeaning that position. I'm just saying the country can't last if we keep doing it. Our kids don't have a future if we keep doing it. If you look at the budget projections for our country, we will run even with the tax increases that are coming at the end of this year, we're going to run $1 trillion deficits till 2020. Let me close with one final thought. We have a $4 trillion budget. We're going to want to run a $1.6 trillion deficit this year. That means we're going to borrow that from our children. The deficit by this time next year will be close to $14 trillion. Have you ever thought about what $1 trillion is? My colleague from Georgia explained it to me, and so I didn't believe him. I did the math. If you take and spend $1 a second, and so that means you spend $60 a minute or $3,600 an hour. $3,600 an hour. The wealthiest in our country don't probably spend that. But let's say you did. How long would it take you to spend $1 trillion? It's 31,709 years spending $3,600 an hour before you ever get to $1 trillion. You get $1 trillion deficits, $34 billion at a time, which is the cost of this bill. The way we start getting out of debt is to stop adding to it. If you go back to the 12th of February, when the law went into effect on pay-go, and you add this bill to it, we're going to be $250 billion since February 12th that this body will have added to our children's deficit. It's not your debt. Nobody in this room, and probably very few people listening to this debate, are going to pay one penny against that. It's all going to be borne by the children coming. So what's pay-go about? Pay-go is about this, America. It's you pay and we'll go spend. And you're seeing evidence of it today on the floor. And it's not just you pay, your children pay, and your grandchildren pay. You're going to pay with real dollars, but your grandchildren are going to pay with lost opportunity, lower levels of education, lower levels of everything in the future. There's not one problem in front of this country we can't solve. We can't solve it by borrowing money that we don't have to spend on a good thing, let alone bad things, but on a good thing, while we allow billions, hundreds of billions of dollars to be wasted every year in this country. So when you hear the cry that somebody doesn't care, you have to ask the question about what do they care about? Can you care for those that are unemployed today and also care for our kids? Yeah, you can. And it's really not all that hard. I mean, the examples of waste and duplication. There's $100 billion worth of fraud in Medicare that we can document. So there's all sorts of things that we can do. The question is do we have the courage? Will we step up to the line? Will we do the best right thing for our children and the unemployed? That's the question. It's not that somebody doesn't have compassion for the unemployed. Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Senator from California.